Welcome in. What's up? My name is Mike Bassano, and this is Chiefs Chase. We are following the Chiefs as they work to become the first team in the history of the NFL to three-peat as Super Bowl champions. We are fired up for it. We've been doing it every single week, and we're going to keep doing it every single week. We have a ton to get to today, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of really interesting things coming out of the Chiefs world. Patrick Mahomes had something very eye-opening to say. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, training camp is over, and not a second too soon. I don't think the media should be allowed to cover training camp every day. Like 2 or 3 days out of the week. There's no reason for everyone to be in St. Joe every day, all the time. I'm watching some of these videos coming out of training camp. Even, what was the one they had with Vegas with the Raiders? They have the players saying, crayon. How do you say crayon? That's what we're doing now. That's what happens when there's legitimately nothing to talk about. It's the most brutal time. The first week, I get it, but that's how big the NFL has gotten. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this for me. Watching how insane training camp coverage has become, the insane amount of stories and questions. These guys don't want to answer all this crap, man. They get asked the stupidest things all the time. What color of pants do you prefer? I just made that up, but I guarantee it was asked by somebody in the NFL because, my God. And everyone's doing their best. This is not a shot at the media in any way, shape, or form. Everyone's doing their best. There's just no world where training camp should be as covered as it is, because by the end of the second week, I'm done. Make the season start. I don't care anymore. Very rarely does anything interesting come out of training camp after the first preseason game. But I think this speaks to something larger. The NFL is by far the biggest thing going in the world. Well, in the United States, which is my world. So it's interesting because I think back a little bit. I think back to just right before the pandemic. Right before the pandemic, people thought the NFL was in decline. My God, look at the NBA. The NBA is going to elevate and be this huge thing. That trash league. The NBA has no shot. They're so far low below the NFL, right there with Major League Baseball. Neither one has done anything to really challenge the king of the country, the National Football League. And a big part of that, I think, is because of what happened during the pandemic. If you remember, watching the NBA during the pandemic was brutal. Watching Major League Baseball during the pandemic, brutal. Remember when they had those cutout fans in the stands? How stupid was that? Right behind home plate, like, oh, you can pay and get your own cutout behind the plate at the K. Yeah, I'd rather blow my brains out. Oh, hey, look at me on TV. I'm over there, right in the corner with my cutout of myself. What a bunch of losers we became during the pandemic, huh? We still haven't fully recovered. Everybody's road raging. Everybody hates each other. We all got dissociated from life, and we got taken out of the social structure. And now we're just a bunch of animals caving in and cramming on each other all the time. But what the NFL did during this time was they made sure the TV product felt like it did before. That's the one thing that never changed. Even with the pandemic, with everything going on, the one thing that never changed the whole time with the NFL was their TV product. Watching that, you felt like everything was normal. Even during 2020, the year where Tom Brady and the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl in a game I'd rather forget. Even in that year, it felt like legitimate. Like it looked like a game. They kept the crowd out of the camera shots for the most part. They piped in crowd noise where they needed to, and it made you feel like the world was normal for just a little bit. That, and I like to crap on Roger Goodell just as much as any other person with a pulse, but that decision, the way he handled things in the pandemic, was so perfect that I think it elevated the NFL beyond anywhere where it's going to be touchable for a very long time. And that's awesome. That's my favorite thing about what came out of the pandemic, is that the NFL solidified itself as far and away the best league in American sports. And that's why we love training camp. Like it's a full circle thing, right? That's great. However, now we have full-scale coverage of training camp. Hey, what did Aaron Rodgers have for lunch today? That ends up being what it is, right? It's just a crap show, a clown show where everyone's just doing this dumb stuff because it's all we care about. Yeah, the Royals are playing well. That's great. It's fun. But what are the Chiefs doing in St. Joe? That's what we're on. So I understand why it happens, but I do think that the media shouldn't be given as much access as they're given. Again, nothing against the media, not their problem, not their fault. All right. Moving on. One of the greatest preseason plays in history happened this week. We'll get to that in just a couple of minutes, but first, Patrick Mahomes talking about Travis Kelce and his work ethic during this training camp needs to be spotlighted. It needs to be talked about.
Well, honestly, I mean, you see him out there every day at practice. He's working. He's in there getting the reps. He actually gets mad when they take him out. And he has all the right in the world to go out there and just kind of be on the sideline and coach because he knows all the stuff. And he doesn't necessarily need the reps, but he loves it, man. He loves working. And it makes my job easy as a leader to push other guys because I can just say, look at the Hall of Famer who's out here practicing harder than anybody.
The interesting thing about this is Chiefs fans have had what I would call a winding relationship with Travis Kelce. Now, people will have some revisionist history at the end of his career and be like, oh, everybody's always just supported Travis. I've always supported Travis. I was covering the draft for 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City in 2013, the night that Travis was drafted in the 3rd round. We didn't know much about him. But I've been a big Travis Kelce fan from the very jump because I love his game and I loved his attitude. He was not this kind of, I'm shucks, I'm just here to play football guy. No, he was in your face from the very beginning. But to pretend like Chiefs fans always embraced that would be a lie. He has had a winding relationship with Chiefs fans. Now that he's older in his career and he is a solidified Hall of Famer, if you don't like Travis Kelce, then you can go fuck yourself. I've said that from the very beginning, but I feel like it's more acceptable now, right? It's a more acceptable thing to say. And now that he's with Taylor Swift, there was a whole uproar last year. She's going to distract the team. Well, that got real quiet after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Because when Taylor Swift comes and you win a Super Bowl, you tend to just shut your mouth and enjoy the fact that you're winning Lombardis, baby. So that's kind of how that played out. But what I find interesting about what Patrick said is for years, Travis Kelce has been one of those guys where you really like him and he's really good, but he had a tendency to show up to training camp sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes a little out of shape with a little bit of an attitude problem. And that hasn't been at all the case this year. He shows up in shape, ready to rock and roll, firing on every cylinder. Travis Kelce in training camp this year has been the best Travis Kelce that we've ever seen in Chiefs training camp. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for that. I would like to believe Taylor Swift has a lot to do with it. When you have a girlfriend or somebody that you're with who is more successful than you are, and Travis Kelce's wildly successful. I mean, the guy's a Hall of Famer, first ballot. I think the best tight end to ever breathe air. Probably most people would say the best tight end to ever breathe air. I will fight you, Patriots fans. I will fight you over this. Bring your Gronk arguments to me. I will squash every single one of them. Oh, well, when he was healthy, part of how good you are is how healthy you can stay. That is a fact of life. It's a fact of the NFL. Part of how good you are is how healthy you can stay. I don't care. You know how many talented guys never made it to the NFL because they couldn't be durable enough? You know how many 5-star high school players burned out in college because their bodies couldn't take it? I don't care that George Kittle's really good when he's healthy because he's not healthy all the time. Travis Kelce has been consistently healthy and consistently productive at a phenomenal Hall of Fame level for the last decade. And most of those years with Alex Smith. So I don't want to hear the Patrick Mahomes debate either. Rob Gronkowski had the second greatest quarterback of all time behind Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady throwing to him his entire career. So I don't want to hear any blasphemous remarks from you 49ers fans or you Patriots fans. Antonio Gates is nice. He's not there. He's still below Travis, but he's nice. I'll actually listen to some Antonio Gates stuff. But when you're so successful, but then you have somebody else in your life like Taylor Swift who's so wildly successful that it has to at least make Travis Kelce go, damn, maybe I can step my game up a little bit. I mean, because I'll put it this way. I'll put it in a slightly different way if this seems a little bit reachy. Imagine the physical and mental toll that it takes on Taylor Swift every show that she does, right? She just, I believe, just wrapped up the European Eras Tour. Imagine going out every single night. You're dancing, you're singing, you're hitting every single cue, which this is a big production if you've seen anything from a Taylor Swift show. And fuck your personal thoughts on Taylor Swift. I don't care. No matter what. An undeniable fact is that Taylor Swift, what she does is difficult. It's hard to go out there and be that much of a performer every single night. It takes discipline, it takes hard work, it takes keeping yourself together and making sure you're on point at all times. As her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, can't help but be inspired by that in some way, right? He can't help but be inspired by somebody who's putting it on the line every single night like that. So that's a big reason why I think he came to training camp in shape, ready to rock and roll, and looking like the best Travis Kelce we've ever seen. I'm fired up for Kelce this year. Mahomes is too. He's firing up the other guys. You know, we brought up Tom Brady just a second ago, and I'll get to that in just a second, but I will say work ethic, I think, is the most underrated thing in the NFL. Ask Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney is one of the most incredible athletes I've ever seen in my entire life. That guy moves in a way that I didn't know human beings could move. But why isn't he good at football? I would think if you had that kind of athleticism and you put in work, you'd be decent enough to make a roster. Right? We've seen flashes from him. It's not like he doesn't have any ability or hand-eye coordination, although his hands might lead to something like that. Then go sit in front of the jugs machine for 3 hours. You think Kadarius Toney's doing that? I doubt it. So work ethic is one of the most underrated things in the NFL. And as I brought up Tom Brady, when he got with Giselle, his work ethic went up. Is that because she annoyed him and he wanted to be anywhere other than home? I don't know. I'm not there. But what I do know is that Tom Brady with Giselle elevated his game. It looks as if Travis Kelce has elevated his game right now. When you're with somebody who's more successful than you, it's going to make you want to elevate yourself. That's just a reality of life. You don't want to sit around not being as good, making less money than your counterpart. You push each other to get better. That's a great thing. You know, Travis Kelce wins the Super Bowl. Taylor Swift lights the stage on fire and becomes incredible all throughout Europe. You know, I'm just saying, when you're with, you are who you surround yourself with, right? At least to an extent. I think that's a little bit of flawed logic, but it's a saying for a reason. You are a little bit who you surround yourself with. I fully believe Taylor Swift is a large reason why Travis Kelce looking damn good in training camp right now. All right, one player for Kansas City looks set to absolutely explode this year. I'll tell you who in just a moment. But first, Patrick Mahomes, behind the back pass, seen around the world. Everybody's talking about it, and they absolutely should be, because my goodness, Patrick Mahomes, you beautiful son of a bitch, how dare you take a preseason game that should mean nothing and create one of the greatest highlights anybody's ever seen. And I don't care how many times it's posted. I see you crying, Bengals fans, Bills fans, 49ers fans, Eagles fans, Broncos fans, Raiders fans. I don't care. Keep crying. Patrick Mahomes behind the back. Post it to the moon, baby. I want to see it on every single account in existence. Patrick Mahomes taking the most worthless moment in football, a preseason game, and making it the love of my life. Thank you, sir. My goodness. You know, people can't even hate on him anymore. They can hate on how much he's posted about, but on him, it used to be, oh, he's overrated. ESPN rides him. Burrow's better. I used to see all those stupid comments. The only comments I see now, the only ones, are the ones that are like, hey, he's the only comments I see now, so I'm getting fired up, bro. The only comments I see now about Patrick Mahomes are, you know, I really don't like him. I didn't want him to be good, but I guess, you know, what can I say? That's really it. You can't say anything. You have to give him this flowers because he's making preseason great for the first time. Screw making preseason great again. Preseason's never been great. No one's ever cared, especially after game one. Game 1, we're excited to have football back. We're fired up. Hey, football's back. We're excited to get all in there and excited. No, not this time. After Game 1, everyone forgets, except now, because Patrick Mahomes behind the back pass took everything to the moon and fired everybody up, baby. Oh, you just absolutely love to see it, dude. I saw afterward Travis, he said Travis ran the wrong route, and then Travis denied it, and hey, the Chiefs look like they're playing on rookie mode right now. They do. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you pull when you feel like you've got this game slowed down for you to a completely different level. As good as Patrick Mahomes has been, remember, he's not even 30 yet. He's not as good as he's going to be later. Now, a lot of times now, especially in the postseason, we see Patrick Mahomes use his legs a lot. That'll go away over time, but the way he's growing as an overall player is a guy that can control the pocket and maneuver the pocket a lot like, I will say this, Tom Brady's the greatest pocket maneuver of all time. But Mahomes clearly studied Tom Brady. I think I've even heard him say that before. Mahomes clearly studied that because he is getting so good at maneuvering in the pocket. So he's not even as good as he's going to be. We haven't seen the best of Patrick Mahomes. I'm excited for this, man. I'm fired up about it. All right. It looks like there won't be a Mahomes curse. I'll explain what that means in just a moment. But first, one player for Kansas City set to explode. Xavier Worthy. Look at that guy. He's going to be something special this year. It's going to happen in year 1. It's going to happen big, and everybody's going to be talking about it until kingdom come, baby, because that is exactly what we want to see this year. We need it, that explosive player. So the Chiefs go and get Hollywood Brown. He gets injured in the first preseason game. He comes back. He might be great. He might not be. But Xavier Worthy, the rookie, looks like he's going to be explosive, dynamic, and everything we could have ever possibly hoped he would be. I can't tell you. I'm looking at Xavier Worthy, and I'm thinking, that's Tyreek Hill without the bullshit. Who wouldn't want Tyreek Hill without the bullshit? And you know what I mean when I say bullshit. I mean domestic violence charges. Or convictions, rather. Domestic violence convictions. Running his mouth on his podcast. Creating problems all the time. Writing checks that nobody can cash. He called Tua a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. A more accurate quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. In that scenario, I feel bad for Tua Tagovailoa. I feel bad for Tua. He's not going to be able to live up to that. Who could you live up to something like that? Hey, you're Patrick Mahomes now. No. So Xavier Worthy Xavier Worthy is quickly becoming the guy that I am watching, the guy I am poking to, perfect for today's NFL. There are other eras where he'd be too small. He'd get clocked over the middle. Ray Lewis might kill him, but Ray Lewis wouldn't get to play that way in this era. Nobody can. So he is perfect for today's NFL. Yeah, he's undersized. Who cares? Can't touch him anyway. Can't do it. Undersized? Don't care. Perfect for today's NFL, much like a Tyreek Hill. Perfect for the rules set in place, and he seems to be coming along at a lightning fast rate. That's got to get you fired up, man. It's got to get you fired up. How did the NFL allow this to happen? I know this was talked about right after the draft, but now that Xavier Worthy looks like the real deal, we got to talk about it again. How in the world does the other 31 teams in the NFL allow Xavier Worthy to drop to the Kansas City Chiefs? And how in God's name could the Buffalo Bills trade to let the Chiefs move up and grab Xavier Worthy? What in the world were any of you thinking? You signed your own death warrant for 2024. Imagine being that stupid as a collective. A collective. This isn't even one organization. This is 31 different franchises that didn't understand what they were doing. And they allowed the potentially the most explosive weapon in the NFL draft to fall to the Kansas City Chiefs. You're fucked. I'm sorry. There's been a lot of cursing in this podcast. I'm fired up today. You know what it is, man? It's like 100 degrees in here. I don't have any air conditioning in the studio, so I don't even know what's coming out of my mouth anymore. I'm just talking, but I'm right And you know damn well I'm right. The other 31 teams need to be on notice for that. The Bills. All right, we're wrapping up with this. Now, I said there will not be a Mahomes curse. It looks like there won't be a Mahomes curse. And the reason I bring up a Mahomes curse is because it's very, very possible that if there were a team that, let's say, passed on Patrick Mahomes in the NFL draft and decided to take a young man out of North Carolina called Mitchell Trubisky, they might be cursed for their stupidity. And I think most people would say that's a very fair curse. If they were cursed for 40 years, I think we could call it that. I don't think it's going to happen, though, because Caleb Williams looks like the real deal. I know it's just preseason. I know that other guys have looked good in preseason. He looks like Josh Dobbs before Josh Dobbs learns a playbook, man. Caleb Williams is special. I was hoping for this. I really was. Just because everybody gets on him so much. Yeah, he's a little zesty. Oh, well. Yeah, he paints his nails and he acts different. Who the hell cares? I tend to root for the guys that kind of get screwed like this. I tend to root for the guys that haven't done anything wrong, but for whatever reason, people hate them anyway. I root for those guys. So I root for Caleb Williams, and I'm rooting for him and the Chicago Bears. So say what you want about Caleb Williams, but I'm very happy that his painted fingernails are in the NFC. Just as a Chiefs fan, as a born and raised Kansas City die-hard Chiefs fan, I am very grateful that Caleb Williams is not in the AFC, and especially not in the AFC West. God, could you imagine if the Chargers had him? My heart's going. Look, we already got to deal with Bo Nix, and he looks good. That sucks. I hate the fact that Bo Nix looks good. I hate it so much. Oh, the Broncos look like they finally have a quarterback, which is a nightmare. They've been terrible since Peyton Manning left. Since that Super Bowl win in the 2015 season, the Denver Broncos have looked like an absolute poverty franchise that should be set on fire, never to be seen again. Now they got their quarterback, and it's all going to change. Boo! I loved watching Denver lose for a decade. I really did. I don't think it's going to be the same now. Yeah, it's going to be harder for the Chiefs. It's going to be very hard for the Chiefs. I saw Belichick talking about that. Bill Belichick said, this road for the Chiefs, it's going to be very difficult. But if anyone can do it, Kansas City can. That's just a nice thing to say. Truth be told, it's going to be hard. I'm so excited that we just get to experience the shot, right? We get to see the Chiefs take a shot at a three-peat. How fun is that? Whether it works out or not, I don't know. Everything keeps looking harder. You get to start with the Ravens and the Bengals right out of the gate. What the hell are we doing? This is tough. This is a tough role. But I keep seeing the Patrick Mahomes comparison to Caleb Williams. Sorry, I got off on a tangent there. I started thinking about the AFC West, and it made my stomach hurt. They keep improving. They keep getting better. I think the Raiders are still going to suck this year. I like Gardner Minshew, but let's not sit here and pretend he's something he's not, right? So anyway, moving on from that, back to Caleb Williams and Patrick Mahomes. I'm seeing a lot of the comparisons with Caleb Williams and Patrick Mahomes. And I'll tell you this, I agree with them. I hate when people compare to Patrick Mahomes. Like, that looked like Patrick Mahomes. No, it didn't. Shut up. Except with Caleb Williams, he actually looks a lot like Patrick Mahomes. It's really frustrating. So now I'm a little worried about it. And I'll also say this. For all those Bears fans who are big fans of Justin Fields, you've been real quiet lately. The whole, let's keep Justin Fields and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. first overall. Build around Justin. Yeah, you've been real quiet lately, and you might want to just go ahead and buy your Caleb Williams jersey and get on board now, baby, because the train is leaving the station. Also, zesty quarterbacks are about to take the league over. No more Peyton Mannings. The zesty quarterback is happening now, especially if Caleb Williams blows up the way that he looks like. Caleb Williams is going to blow up. That's the future of quarterbacks. It's just like the guys that they got that kid in Nebraska who looks just like Patrick Mahomes. Went out of his way to look just like Patrick Mahomes. That's going to happen for Caleb Williams too. And it reminds me a little bit of my time during broadcasting when I was doing sports talk radio for almost a decade. I was on air almost a decade in a number of markets. One of them being Kansas City for a collective 3 years. But in some of those markets, which will remain nameless, I won't call out anybody professionally on that because that's kind of trash, but there were a lot of guys, because I started doing sports talk radio professionally at 22 years old at ESPN South Dakota. The thing was, I'd smoked for like 7 years, from the time I was 17 on to like 24. And because I had smoked so much, smoked cigarettes, Marlboro 27s, because I smoked so much, I kind of sounded 35 when I was 22. So they put me on the radio, and we just didn't tell anyone how old I was. Like, that was part of the deal when I signed my contract with ESPN South Dakota, which was don't tell anyone that your age, because no one's going to care to listen to a 22-year-old talk about sports, which is normal. That's fair. I understand it entirely. That said, I worked with a lot of older guys, especially early on, a lot of older guys, and they loved them. I'll put it this way. They loved a pocket quarterback. You know what I mean? They loved a pocket quarterback. It felt racist. I'm not going to say it was racist, but it felt racist, because I don't know what the intent in their heart is. Maybe they were just really liked the old school but Fran Tarkenton ran around a lot. There were mobile quarterbacks before the new era. It felt weird, but they loved them some pocket quarterbacks. Well, I'll tell you this, for those guys, it appears the pocket quarterback is dead. Now, you will have guys who want to live in the pocket for sure. I'm not saying you want to only be a dual threat, but the ability to be mobile has become so incredibly important in today's NFL. I don't think we will ever see another world where Peyton Manning types are the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it goes differently. But the Chiefs, they have a guy who's changing the game, and I think the Bears might have a guy who's changing the game a little bit too. Thank God, Caleb Williams in the NFC. Thank you so much for taking the time and hanging out with me today. I appreciate you guys so much. I don't care how many people listen. I have so much fun doing this. I'll do it every single week through the season. Please come back and see me. This has been Chiefs Chase. I'm Mike Bassano. Have a great week.